Let's talk about a hot topic right now, which would be redundancy, or maybe as some of the international viewers would call it, getting laid off. There is a lot going on across the employment sector right now with regards to people losing their jobs. I've seen Amazon, Google, Facebook, most of the big players let people go over the last months, and the UK is no different, and I am no different. So today I want to talk to you about redundancy, layoffs, and I want to give you 10 tips to think about if you're about to start this process or you're in it right now. If you're just joining my channel for the first time, my name is John, and I talk about just life situations, talk about work, a little bit about politics, and then just my own experience as a man in the UK in his 40s dealing with some of these situations. I've came over to the park to just sit and share some of these thoughts with you. Today is the 25th of February. This will be posted and be live on Wednesday the 26th because the YouTube algorithm apparently needs like 24 hours to process your video. Funnily enough, from that, the very first video that I posted had incredible success, more than I could ever have really imagined, and yet I posted that and only gave it a couple of hours worth of notice, so I don't know if there's anything in it, but I digress. So today is the 25th of February, and why today is an important date that I'm noting down for this discussion is that today is my very first day of being 100% unemployed. I have been working for 31 consecutive years. I left school at 16, but in the UK, in order to work, you need to have a national insurance card, a national card. And once you've got that, you can then start working. And I received mine in my late period of being 15, and I interviewed for a job and I went straight out into employment. I've never been to university. I've never been to college. I finished high school and went into employment because I was living at the time with my single dad, my single parent dad, who had raised me from about 9. And his belief was, well, if you're going to quit school, you need to get a job. And so I got a job and I started working. But today I find myself, for the first time in my entire life, out of work. And I posted a video on the 9th of January, which was my birthday, to talk about some health issues I'd had, my dad passing away and dealing with the grief of that, and then also finding out about redundancy. In the UK, when you're made redundant, there may be a period where you're still technically employed but not working. And in the UK, we call that gardening leave. So for the last 3 months, I've been sat pretty much on my arse, sorry about the language, at home with my wife Yvonne while she's still working, not able to get a job, although I can apply, not able to actually work for the company that I was with because I'm on this gardening leave process, but effectively just sitting around waiting for today. And I have to say, that experience is weird because you don't quite know what to feel. You just don't really know what's happening. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the company that I was working for decided to make a decision to lay off a number of employees. And I was selected, and you get given the reasons, right? And I won't go into it because part of going through that gardening leave is agreeing what you will and won't talk about. And so I found myself in that position. But to just you as a human, it's a bizarre period, especially if you've been so used to just working the whole time. and I would say I have grafted. That would be the best description that I could give you without blowing my career trumpet. I started in retail as a little sales assistant at a store called Halford's, and from there I have worked my way up the corporate ladder, and I've gone to interviews where they've wanted a degree, but luckily my skill set has won out. And in the last 4 years, I found myself in an international position, working for a business based out of Munich, Germany. I was travelling there sometimes twice a month to take meetings and to work with the management, and then suddenly that's all over. Now, I don't mind admitting this on the video if it's helpful, but I was in a comfortable 6-figure salary, and that has now been reduced to 0. And so I thought I would make this today because if you're in this process, and I've seen lots of videos on TikTok of people freaking out about being laid off and what does it mean, and I understand everybody will have their own situations, but just me being able to maybe share this and talk a little bit about it might just be comforting for somebody out there that's either about to start this or is in it. Or maybe you've gone through it and now you're sitting there redundant, no job, trying to find something. And I would say the most important part is just don't panic. Don't panic. Keep calm, and others around you will stay calm. And I've got a super supportive wife who's still working, and I've got some great friends that have made sure to reach out, stay in contact with me, and just let me know that they're thinking about me. And that means a lot. That really does help, because even as the last few days have drawn close, I've felt myself slip. And I would say probably slip into elements of depression. And I would say that I probably haven't really had enough time to grieve for my father's passing and how important that was to me and how significant in my life it's been. Because I found myself in the whirlwind of dealing with that funeral situation, and then recently dealing with his house, which I covered in a couple of videos, and trying to get the property onto the market, and just dealing with everything that came along from his passing. So I really probably haven't had enough time to sit down and just take stock of everything. And then I found myself in this whirlwind that is redundancy. So the depression part has crept up on me. And in my second ever video that I made here on the channel, I talked about giving up alcohol and what that had meant to me over the last couple of years. And I'll say this, if I was being honest with you, the viewer, the last couple of days I have felt nothing more than the urge to get absolutely smashed. I don't know why. I mean, I haven't really bothered about drinking, but wow, it's just crept up on me. It's just felt like I need to get blindly drunk, blow off the steam. But you know what's swirling in my head is just the thoughts of alcohol naturally creates depression, and it really alters your mood. It's the geese flying in. It really does change your mood, and so I've managed to resist that temptation, but it's been hard. It's been hard. So again, if you've given up alcohol and you feel these moments where you're thinking, God, life is just going against me, I get it. I totally get it. But you've got to try and stay on the right side of you. Do the right thing for you, because the alcohol, whilst it might be a very small moment of release, could be a trigger into, more regular use of it, for example, and I don't want that because I've worked so hard to avoid it. So in this situation with my job, I've now gone out of work. I've been in contact with the people that I work with, the ones that have kind of mattered over the last few years, my UK colleagues and some of my international colleagues. And that's weird because it feels like you're still embroiled in the situation, even though I don't want to be. But today was an important day for one reason, and that was today is the day where they actually paid me the redundancy money. So even though I've been on 3 months gardening leave, they paid me each month my salary, but I was waiting for this moment to actually pick up the cheque, so that I can survive for the next months, whilst I either look for another job or decide what to do. And the reason that's swirling in my mind is because the very first video we created was about potentially getting out of the UK, and I knew that today would be an important milestone to get through when I can then start to think about next steps for me as a 47-year-old man. But I'll say this again, so that anybody in this moment recognises that it is okay. I have personally felt just finished, like cooked, mentally drained, like I've given all my ideas, all my positivity, my relentless drive for sales has ended, and I feel like I've just run out of steam. Making this channel, starting this channel and recording these videos has given me purpose, given me something to focus on. And as I said in the last video, that creative outlet of being able to just sit down and talk to you. And I try and make these as best I can in one go like this, because then you know it's unfiltered BS. The BS isn't there, right? I'm just giving it to you straight from the top of my head as I'm thinking about it. So I felt finished the last couple of days, and luckily I'm in a good position where I've got a great wife who's like, whoa, hold on, everything's all right. We've got money. Another job will come round if you want it. And for now, if you want to take a break, take that break. So I am immensely grateful for that support. And I recognise that some people out there watching this might not have that support. And all I can say is I've read all of the messages that people have sent me in the last couple of weeks, and I'm just blown away by some of the situations and positions and experience that people are willing to share with me. So thank you for all of that. Now, before I ramble on anymore, I jotted down 10 things on my phone that I thought would be beneficial to talk to you about this process, about redundancy or being laid off or whatever else. Now, number one on this, it's not personal. It's not personal that the company needs to make cutbacks. The economy is not in a good situation. Inflation is through the roof, and so businesses are having to evaluate. So don't take it as personal. I know that is hard, but try and think that this is just the company making a business decision. 2, and this is an important one, listen up all you potential people that might be going through this, and some of you youngsters. HR is not on your side. They never are. They are there to support the organisation. So when you go to these meetings, these one-on-one sessions or redundancy talk or whatever else, the HR department are not there to make your life easier. They're there to navigate the business through this process in a legal manner. That's important to recognise. 3, on a positive note, it is possible to overturn these situations. My wife went through this process 4 or 5 years ago, and I sat down with her and we went through a business case because the company itself was laying people off without truly recognising some of the jobs that were going. She built a business case and has still stayed at the company until now. And I've helped other staff that have worked with me go through that process. So it may not be over. You have to pull together documentation to support your case and have them hear it. But it might be possible to save your position. 4, however, staying is not necessarily the best option. Sometimes being left behind means that your workload is going to double or treble. I went through this process multiple times in the past, and in 2020 I was working for a large UK utility energy company, and this process started and I was offered a position to stay in the company, and my job was going to almost quadruple for slightly less money and with less benefits. And I thought at the time, oh, sign me up. Well, I didn't stay. I took a job offer somewhere else and left. But staying isn't necessarily the best. I can tell you that the colleagues I'm talking to right now are feeling the weight of the people who have exited the business. 5, make sure that you know the employment law in your country. I was working for an international business and it was eye-opening how little they knew about going through this process for UK employees. Eye-opening. I won't go into the details of it all, but I'll just tell you, make sure that you know your policies for your territory. And on that, let's talk about number 6. And number 6 is, if you need to get legal representation, get it. The company that's making you redundant has to provide you with some funding to support your legal case. Now, I required this in this situation, sought out a lawyer who specialises in HR, and I brought them on board, and the company that I was working for has covered pretty much all of their costs. So make sure that if you need assistance, that you seek that out. Get a professional to help you with your case. It may be beneficial when it comes to negotiating your exit fee. 7, if you're in that process within the UK, you have 10 days to consider by law the offer that they've given you. That is a standard within the UK, and it will be different in other markets. But again, knowing the laws in the first place will help you understand what you need. For example, the company I was working with asked if I would be willing to carry on working during those 10 days. Yeah, I'll let you work out what I answered to that. Number 8, and that is to understand that your payoff will be tax-free up to 30k. So if you're being made redundant and you're agreeing a settlement, your first 30,000 is tax-free. Good to know. Number 9, keep in mind that if this is the first round of redundancies, this offer may actually be the best that will ever be on the table. Again, I've been through this process a couple of times in the past, and I've stayed at companies, and other times I've left. And I've seen the first offer come out and it be maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks for every year that you've been in the organisation. But in the UK, that can be as little as 1 week. And so I've seen companies come out and say, for people who leave in the first round, we'll give you two weeks for every year that you've been here. But if we go to round 2 and round 3, that number will decrease. So sometimes being the first out the door isn't necessarily the worst position to be in. And number 10, and again important given everything that I've told you so far, it might not be the nightmare that you think it's going to be. So heading out of a job, it may not be the worst situation you've ever experienced. And again, I'll replay what I said earlier. I have personally felt a bit finished, a bit cooked, a bit done for over the last days and weeks that I've been waiting for today to roll around. But on the positive side of it, I've started something great here on YouTube that I'm loving getting involved in, and I love the community that's supporting me and messaging me around it. I wouldn't have had the time to start this if I'd still been in the job. We are now able to think about going and travelling and thinking about our future, or if I decide that I'm just going to go back into work, I can do that. There will be options on the table for you. So again, remember, don't panic. Do not panic. Stay calm, and opportunities will come your way. Thanks for listening to my chat today. I'm going to add a little bit of bonus content on now where I'm going to go and feed Dave and Tracy if they're around. So if you'd like to watch that, stick around. And at the end of all of that, YouTube will make a suggestion as to what you should maybe watch next. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Look at this, right? We've not even gone down the stairs. Dave's out of the water, coming to get us. Look, spots the bread from here. Look. Here comes Dave waddling across it. He's like, do you know how much effort it is for me to walk all the way across here, mate. Can you hurry up with the bride? I know. Take my hand off otherwise. Oh, just look how far. Dave, we're coming, mate. I see you. Then he'll get aggy because I'm walking towards him. That's what he does, he gets all territorial.
Hello!
Hello, Dave.
Hello!
You've walked a long way, mate. You coming? I know, I hear you. You've came for the bread. There you go. Now you know what you're going to do, right? You're going to take that all the way by the water because it's dry. That's it, Dave. You rip that to bits, mate. There's your pal. That's Tracy. Oh, look at that. So, yep, off you go on, go on. Yeah, you walk all the way back there. I know, you're looking at us like, what you following me? You came to me, mate. You came to me. Went all the way back, go and get a drink. Sorry about the wind. That's it, Dave, back to the water. Oh yes, look at that. Oh, liquid goodness. Tail wagging, that's a good sign. Alright, there you go, mate, enjoy. We're over here, right, feeding Dave, and then I just spun round, and there's like, there's a wee overflow bit here, and we've got these two characters just floating it. Oh yeah, don't worry, I've given them a bit of bread, but just to show you, these two just hanging out. So, the water's over there, these two sneaky characters are